Psychic Cynthia Killian here, also known as Psychic Cynthia, and welcome to another Psychic Herbalism video in the garden. And I'm here in the shade. I know it's a little dark, but it's about 90 degrees in the shade right now, so this is a much more pleasant place to be than the sunlight. Hopefully you can see. So welcome, and I'm in the process right now. It's the time of the year when I'm in the process of processing mint, peppermint to be exact. That's what I grow. But there's all kinds of mints. And this is, it's been about a week after the summer solstice here. So it's, I think it's June 29th, something like that. And I've been processing mint basically and harvesting ever since April, late April. In our climate here, mint is one of the first plants to appear in the cooler part of spring. So I don't pick a whole bunch of it right at first. I sort of let some of it grow up, but it's a really good performer in the garden. In fact, some people say too good of a performer. So it will spread like a weed. If you want to grow your own peppermint and you don't want it taking over a large area, you should grow it in a bed of some kind, or excuse me, in a maybe big container of some kind. Now I do have mine in a bed with raspberries, and it pretty much takes over everywhere, but I don't mind. I just pull it out as I need it. So I'm constantly harvesting mint. And here you can see a bundle that I just harvested not that long ago. And a bundle this size will, as it dries, it will shrink down quite a bit. And if you start to harvest your own mint for teas or whatever you're going to use it for, you'll notice that it takes a lot of mint to make even a small amount. So this is going to probably, when it dries down, it will probably be about half the size or even only a third of the size. Oh, there's some noise back there. I think those are squirrels fighting. Just disregard that. But so anyway, it shrinks down quite a bit. And then when you strip it from the stems, it gets even smaller yet. So I harvest a lot of mint so that I'll have plenty for myself for teas and also ceremonial purposes, and to share it with friends and family. And if you want to see what it looks like when it's dry, here's some that I have here that is dry. So this is what I mean when I say I'm processing mint, and I hope that you can see that. I'll move it forward a little bit. So, you know, the color changes a lot when it's dry. And what I'm going to do, actually I've been doing it with a whole bunch of this, I'm going to be stripping these leaves off these stems. And I'll show you some of what I've already done. Actually, I've done a lot more than this, but I've been putting it into a paper sack. So can you see that? And I think what I'll do for y'all later, I'll have to do later, is after this bundle here dries, I think I'll shoot another just real short video and show you what the size looks like dried. And then I'll also show you how much I end up with once I strip it off the stems. And just so you know, my garden is sort of a more of a closed system, meaning that, you know, I try to keep everything that I can in it and be as environmental as possible. And I call it co-creative, you know, working in harmony with nature. So even though I'll be stripping this off the stems, and here's an example of some stems that I stripped of leaves, you know, and I just do this with my hands, but wearing gloves, very important, because I used to do it without gloves, and I get what I call herb fingers. You get like calluses and they hurt on your fingers, so I really do encourage you to wear some light gardening gloves when you do this. But you know, I just kind of pull them down, pull the leaves down, and maybe I'll show you in a second, maybe not. You get the idea. You just strip down, strip them off, and it's okay to have some small stems, but you know, unless you're using it fresh, you probably don't want a whole lot of these woody stems. It won't hurt anything. It just has a little bit more medicine when they're dried if you have a, you know, more of the green parts, the green stem and the green leaf. And actually these stems, this has only been drying, I don't even know if it's been a week. I dried these outside. And these stems still have some juice in them, so to speak. I mean, like if I chew on this, it's like chewing a piece of gum. Really, it tastes like peppermint. So if I wanted to, I could boil these stems up with just this little bit of leaf and make a tea. And it would make a tea at this point, because they've only been drying like a week. And after that, I don't know. You'd have to experiment to find out. But what I'm probably going to do, because I have so many mint leaves and plenty of little greener stems, so I've been chopping these up for the compost. And you can see here some of the ones that I probably need to chop them down a little bit more, just so that you don't have to chop them to put them in the compost, but it does help them break down. So I'm chopping them, and I'll put them in my compost, and it will add nice nutrients to the pile, and also makes it smell good. Now, if you don't have compost, you know, you can put the stems in your trash can and chop them up a little. It'll make your trash can smell good. Maybe you could even save a bag of stems in a paper bag and just kind of sprinkle them in there in layers, you know, so the trash smells good. I don't know. Those are uses possible. And see, they will break with your hands a little bit, but again, wear gloves. Now, on the subject of drying, while we're here, because I do get asked a lot, well, how do you dry your herbs? It's so easy. You don't have to have a dehydrator or anything like that. Now, some people do. And I own a dehydrator, but I rarely dry my herbs in that. I'm really a naturalist through and through, so I prefer to dry my herbs with the air. And I really like in the summer, you can do this in the summer at least, if it's not raining a lot, I like to dry them outside on a little tea cart or a rack, herb drying rack. But you even have, like, I don't know if you can see my furniture here, it's kind of like, I don't know, iron composite or whatever. If you have some kind of rack type, you know, open air, or you could use a chicken wire, or I don't know, just hang them outside. Now these are also bundled, so you can hang them somewhere outside off a nail if you want to do it in the open air like I do. But I don't dry all of them in the open air. I dry a lot downstairs in my basement. It's a cool, dry, unfinished basement. And to do that, I could either hang them. You can hang them in your kitchen too. Now the thing about hanging herbs to dry, they're going to lose leaves as they dry. Not all of them, but they can make quite a mess. So, you know, if you're going to hang them somewhere where you don't care if you're going to have messy leaves, you know, dry leaves, you know, where you don't mind sweeping those up or whatever. And if you're picky about that in a certain place, don't put your herbs there. The other thing you can do is take them just like this and put them in a paper sack, or maybe hang them up and put the paper sack under. I don't know, those are some ideas. Now, I used to kind of chop them up and put them in a bag, and I still do that for some herbs. I don't really do that for mint, you know, or just not tie them up at all and just kind of put them in a bag. Paper bag is best for that. Paper sack, okay. Could you do it in plastic? Well, in theory, but man, it can get moldy really fast. So the paper bag allows the air to circulate. So if you do that, I mean, in other words, you just, you know, have this loose instead of tight with it's just a rubber band. You could do any kind of string though. You need to make sure you flip those herbs around some, probably every day, because they can mold if they're allowed to stick together. So you don't want to ever force your herbs down in a paper bag or pack them, you know, before they're dry. They need to have air to dry. And of course you can, if you own a dehydrator, you can get them on a dehydrator. Well, speaking of heat, it sounds like my air conditioner unit that is right nearby has just kicked on. So I'm going to end this video for now, but hopefully we got some good information. I do need to talk some more about our magical and herbal uses for mint, so I'll do that in a separate video. Until next time, bright blessings to you all and love. Hi, it's Psychic Cynthia here again, also known as Cynthia Killian. And I want to continue with some more info on harvesting and processing mint, and also what I would use it for. And we got interrupted because I'm outside and my air conditioning unit came on. I can also hear my neighbor's air conditioning units are on. At least mine's not on because it's about 90 degrees in the shade today in the middle of summer. But I did want to make this video outside because this is where it all happens, right? And you can see that I've harvested this mint. I believe I showed you that earlier in the other video, which I'll probably put them together for you. And I'm going to let this dry outside. And then hopefully I can at least get you a picture of what it looks like what is the size of this amount of mint when it dries. And just to give you perspective, here's my hand. So this is a good amount of mint. But you'll see that when it dries, it really shrinks down a lot. And then when you take, some of the stems out, like I strip the leaves off the stems, at least the very woody part, it gets, pretty small. It's a lot less than what you think. So if you don't grow your own mint, but you like mint and you drink it and you go to the health food store or order online and you have mint, and you look at that bag of mint, I mean, you should know there was a lot of actual living growing mint that went into that, a lot more than what you're seeing there. So if you do have your own mint to pick and grow, or if you have a friend or a neighbor or whatever, pick liberally in the summer when it's still growing. And what I do, I don't actually pull up by the roots. I mean, you can do that if you want to weed, quote unquote, but I cut. So that way the mint can grow back. And as a friend of mine, Pat, likes to say, mint don't mind. So you can pick a lot and mint will come back. And honestly, you could probably pull out a lot and mint will come back. So it does grow like a weed for most people. And I don't mind. I know a lot of people complain, but I don't mind because I use a lot of mint. So you use a lot of mint like me, grow a lot in the summer and harvest it continually and dry it continually. That's an easier way to do it. And earlier you saw that I was processing some dried mint outside. You don't have to do it outside. And the mint that I have, in bags downstairs, I might forget about it and not, quote unquote, process that. In other words, remove it from the stems until winter. And actually, you don't really have to remove it from the stems. You could just once it's dried, you could just take scissors to it and cut it up, or cram it down in your pot. I would cut it up a little, because it can get kind of long and you're going to fit it down in your pot. So at least do that. It won't hurt to cook it in with the stems. It's just I like to take some of those out. And I used to be a lot more perfectionistic about it. I would take off every little stem and hand sift it. Don't do that, okay? You lose a lot of medicine that way. And although I do remove it from the stem, I don't sift it down too much. I don't get it too fine until right before I'm going to use it. If you want to do that, you can do that. You can kind of crumble it down more right before you're going to use it for your tea or your tincture or whatever. But if you crumble it down too much, every time you crumble it, when it's dry, it's releasing those volatile oils, which are the healing components of the plant. So you're going to be losing some of those oils. So yes, process it a little, but not too much. Does that make sense? Use some moderation. And a lot of times I do this inside in the winter because I'll have bundles around that I didn't get processed in the summer, and that's kind of fun, but it's kind of messy, and that's probably another video for another time. Make sure you have your hand back nearby if you're doing that inside. So let's talk a bit about the uses of mint. I use it a lot for tea, and according to traditional herbalism, actually mint has many uses. Mint, in my opinion, according to the research I've done, and also using it myself and hearing anecdotal stories from people I know, it's a super herb. Don't let anybody tell you it isn't. It's very powerful. Peppermint and spearmint as well. Spearmint has some different properties, and this is peppermint, so we're going to stick with that, but they are both very powerful and very healing, at least according to the practices of herbalists. So mint has been used, we don't even know how long, for thousands of years. Mint tea is drinking in pretty much every culture, in every continent. Mint grows a lot of places. So some form of mint tea, whether it's peppermint or spearmint or whatever the variety is, this is drinking around the world. And because it tastes good, but also because it has some healing qualities, a healing energy about it. I like to use mint because I tend to have upset stomachs and things like that, and I hardly ever use any antacids or anything like that. I do have some, but I just, maybe a few times a year, I just drink mint tea. And how I like to use mint tea, you can do it just as a simple, which in other words means just the tea, just mint. But I do like to blend it because I'm also prone to allergies, but I find that if I drink mint tea regularly, all the time, I don't get as many allergies. I hardly ever get it anymore. Only during certain times of the year. I'm prone to winter allergies because of the trees, unfortunately, here. Some of them are from Canada, so they like that, very beginning of winter, actually. But I digress. So I do find this, drinking this as a tea, for me at least, this has helped with my allergies. And especially if you can combine it with lemon balm, which I also grow voluminous amounts of. And lemon balm is definitely a super herb in my opinion. That is a video for another time, but I love me some lemon balm. So I will combine those two together. And actually, I really like to combine the peppermint and the lemon balm with some chamomile and some fresh ginger root. And you can put that all together in a tea and really put it on a slow simmer and let it get in there for a while, like 20 minutes, slow simmer covered, not a hard boil, slow simmer. It's magic. It tastes good too, especially when you put some honey in it. Okay, honey is just lovely. If you don't use honey, you could maybe use sugar or agave, but it won't have as much healing, okay? So that's kind of, without going into details about my exact recipe, that's my basic formula that I personally use to help me with my allergies. So that's kind of on the medicinal level. And I mean, I've used peppermint tea for so many things and just to help heal the inner stuff, okay, your gut and all of that. And I didn't make this up, by the way. People have been using peppermint medicine for their internal systems for a long time, as long as we know, thousands of years, okay? So try it and see if you like it. I mean, obviously don't drink a lot of it if you're allergic to it. And one thing, speaking of allergies, I did want to say, I find it's real interesting when I process mint, especially inside, I've noticed, I will sneeze a lot, okay? It has like almost what seems like an allergy reaction. And yet when I take this and boil it up in a pan and drink it as a tea, it cures my allergies. It gets rid of them. So I don't know. I just wanted to point that out, that is an experience I have. If you, have experience just sneezing a little around mint, the tea might still work. But obviously, don't drink a lot of anything that you're allergic to. You shouldn't do that. I have one student who is allergic to ginger, so if she wants to make my allergy relief tea, she's got to leave out the ginger. Okay, just the way it is. We all have little things that irritate us, and I wouldn't advise putting a lot of that in your body, okay? Mint does have magical vibrations too. Very sacred to the fairies. So this is why I also dry it to use in ceremony to leave as offerings. I'll even sprinkle some mint powder around different plants, other plants if I have to pick. Use it on my altar, use it in sachets. There is a connection with prosperity with mint. And maybe you could even get that intuitively by thinking about what do we do to make money? We mint money, right? We talk about minting money. Why did we talk about that? Because that goes back to the custom of mint being aligned with that abundance energy. I do feel it's very protective as well and purifying. I mean, just, you have some mint, just put your face in that and smell it. Inhale it deeply. It's so purifying. And just doing that, by the way, not only on a magical level, but on a, full body, all of your bodies, including your psychic bodies, you can feel how it purifies and uplifts you. I mean, the mint tea that I talked about making, it's energizing, but without caffeine. But then at night, if you drink it at night, it's also relaxing. Isn't that interesting? So this plant is intelligent. It knows what it needs to do in your body or your auric field. And also when you sprinkle it out around in your yard or your office or your home, it knows what it needs to do there too. It knows how its vibration needs to work. So even if you don't have a knowledge of what does this need to do, but you just feel something is a little off, then you can use this mint, fresh or dried. For that matter, you could even take a bath in the tea. And I'm a real big fan of taking psychic herbalism baths for cleansing and energizing and just resetting. So yeah, try the peppermint tea baths. Just make up a strong tea and let it cool and put about 1 cup in your bath. That's all it takes. And if you really want to cleanse, I would recommend a cooling bath. I'm talking about cleansing on a psychic level. Obviously, if you need to wipe dirt off your body, you might want to take a little shower first. But I'm talking about just getting down in that water and releasing and energizing on a psychic level. And I have used mint in some of my exorcism formulas as well. The dried leaves, or even the tea to give to the person, or to pour out into the yard as an offering. So those are some uses for mint. Oh, and by the way, did you know you can just chew the leaf? When you're out in the garden on a hot day like today, there's so many volatile oils. I can feel those releasing in my mouth and cooling me down, which is great because it's hot right now and I need to keep my body cool. So if you're working outside in the heat, or if you like to hike in the heat, like I used to like to hike in the desert, you can use your little mint leaves. Even dry will give you some of it. Wow, this is so intense right now. I have to take that out. That's so much mint. My goodness, I mean, so much mint. Oh yes, you can chop them and put them in salads too, or just pick them and put them in salads. And by the way, be kind to your mint. If you're growing it for tea or magic, be kind to all your plants that you want to receive the medicine from. If you love them and give them water and occasionally maybe even give them an organic fertilizer, or just, pet them, tell them how much you love them. Connect with them from the heart. If you do that, then they will give back to you in the form of more medicine. And when I use the word medicine here, I'm not talking about that crap that comes in a bottle that gets you side effects, okay? I'm talking about the spiritual medicine, the energy of the plant, the heart of it. It will open its heart to you if you open your heart to it. On that note, you might hear that the AC is on again, and it's just getting loud here. So, but thank the gods for the AC. I'm going to love that when I go in. So, until next time, many merry adventures with peppermint and other garden herbs. Love to you all, and bright blessings.